You get your first win of the season. What are some of the things that jumped out about the game on Saturday?
How clean we were the first half, how well we executed. I was extremely pleased how well our special teams played the first half, and I think they were the difference in the first half of the game. It was a tale of two halves. The second half, we were not as crisp, pretty sloppy, to be honest with you. I think conditioning had a huge aspect to do with that. Our special teams were as bad in the second half as they were great in the first half. It totally affected the entire game. We take great pride in the triangle of toughness and playing complementary football and be able to run the football and be physical on defense and be great on teams. And we didn't play very well for complementary football in the second half. Now, our kids did give all they had. They were basically writing a check with their minds. Their body couldn't cash just because the heat. And I just hadn't done a good enough job of getting them in shape, honestly. And that's something we got to get better at so we can play more than 2 quarters.
Is that something you can improve on as the season goes on? That conditioning, is that something that improves from week 1 to week 2? Is that one of those things?
We'll stress it, but there's only so much you can do in practice. You kind of got to play your way into that, especially this year of all the years. No matter what, we've only played a game. We still miss spring ball and we still miss summer. So I'm not making excuses for my players. I hope y'all know me well enough by now. I try to shoot it as straight as I can with you guys, unless it gives our opponent a tremendous advantage.
All right, Greg, you're up.
Jeff, how you doing?
Good morning. We're still undefeated, Greg, so it's a good day.
Yeah, and we talked a lot coming in about how much of the system you might have at your disposal or what that would look like. Did you feel like you guys had enough offense and defense available this week to keep Texas State off balance?
I knew no. I thought the second half that kind of hurt us a little bit, honestly. Jake did a good job on some adjustments. I knew when I saw his O-line coach over there working on slide protection at halftime, I went to Tyrone and said, they realize they can't block us. They're fixing to max protect and throw this thing deep a bunch right now. And, they got quite a few DPIs that made it easier to keep doing that. And that hurt us and got the momentum turned, and our special teams didn't help either. We got conservative offensively, but that was intentional. We didn't want to turn the ball over. We wanted to make them have to drive the field on us. And, the choice of me punting the football late, I should have just punted it out of bounds. We tried to punt it to the right and angle them up, but we kind of got the ball back in the middle. And I'm just glad my kids overcame, a bad choice by their head coach.
You mentioned the conservative approach offensively a little bit. There was some short passes or draw plays on maybe 3rd and intermediate or 3rd and long. Is that sort of going to be typical of your guys' approach, or is that a week 1 thing, or is that a matchup thing? What can you tell us about that?
All the above. I agree with all that. No, that would not be typical. I'm really mad at myself on 3rd down and 7 and the 4-minute offense that I didn't go ahead and throw the football down the field to my guys. But I wanted to try to make them drive it, 90 yards with no timeouts left. But I wish I had that call back as well. So I told Frank going in we were going to try to do that. Just we thought our defensive line could get after them. We felt good about that matchup. And we were running the ball so well, it kind of just put us trapped. And then we returned the opening kick of the 3rd quarter, the 12-yard line. And when you're up 17, you just don't want to get, too nonchalant with the football, Greg.
And you touched on this a bit, but Coach Spavital said after the game that you guys really kind of dominated up front and controlled it in the trenches. Is that what you saw looking back? How do you evaluate the performance on the line of scrimmage, especially in the first half?
I'm just so disappointed that we didn't finish it out in that 4-minute offensive aspect. We had 2nd and 5. We needed 5 yards to go to victory formation. And so it's hard for me to say we dominated when we didn't close the game out on our side. Our defensive line, I would say early that is correct. We didn't get home the second half. We just wilted and melted, in my opinion, in the second half. And I'm going to take responsibility for that just because it's my responsibility to have those kids in shape, and we're just not quite there yet.
Offensively, you guys seem to really favor having the tight ends on the field a decent amount. There was a lot of plays for Leroy and Gavin Sharp, even if they ended up kind of flexed out wide. Is that something that's advantageous for you guys, or do you want to lean on that group a decent amount, those tight ends?
Yeah, we have a very strong tight end room. We tried to not say that too much before the game because it was going to be pretty obvious what our plan was going to be. I remember when y'all interviewed my brother, he just mentioned one of them on purpose, and we're not trying to be that, sneaky, but, it was also game one, and y'all mentioned that was our one advantage we had. They didn't know what we were going to do. So 12 personnel we thought was a really good plan. His brother, Zach, does a really good job. He's a great coordinator, and they tear guys up on short edges. So we just tried to lengthen the edge because they brought so much edge pressure, and they're also really good players. I mean, we feel good about our third and our fourth and our fifth tight end. We feel really good about Oscar, Alan Horace, and Dan Dishman. We feel good about all five of our guys. We really do.
One of the interesting things was with that 12 personnel, you could have Sincere and Gavin and Leroy all split out wide. How much does it help you as a play caller, from the tactical standpoint, to be able to do different things with that same personnel group?
No doubt. That's when you get to playing tempo and you got guys that can do multiple things, it's a very huge advantage because obviously when you sub, the other team's going to sub and slow down the game. So we want to play as fast as possible. Unfortunately, when we were going as fast as possible in the second half, we were still barely getting the ball snapped, and we were trying to go as fast as possible. If you were to watch the video, you'd be shocked at how different our legs look from the first half to the second half. I didn't even warm them up. I don't know if you noticed. We did not warm up coming out of halftime. We were so dead in the locker room. I looked at Philo, and Philo's like, Coach, we don't have much left. I don't know if warming them up's going to do any good. I'm like, boys, we better hold on because we're in trouble right now. So we better, our tents next year. We brought those tents over there. We're going to not next year. Whenever we play them again, we can go there. If it's a day game, we need to get bigger tents or something. It was hotter than heck on our sideline.
Along those lines, as you go forward, do you envision a more solidified offensive line? I know you rotated some guys there, which is kind of a little bit less common. Do you see that group becoming more solidified through the year, or do you think you'll continue to rotate?
Philosophically, I just believe if kids practice well, they should play. I think it's great for competition. I think it's great for safety of kids. I think it's great for team morale and locker room. If not that you guys care to go back and look at me through my career, but we have always taken great pride at playing a lot of players on the roster. And we will continue to do that. I don't know that will it be to that degree. I couldn't tell you. But Maka is the only player that played every snap on offense, and Frank Harris. The other 9 positions we all rotated as much as we could.
Okay, Vinny, you're next, and then Paco, you're on deck.
Hey, morning, Coach. Even not so much when Sincere was running free in the middle of the field, at times just kind of running through and carrying people, almost a beast mode type thing. What were your impressions of just how hard he ran for you?
Him and, Brennan both. I mean, that's a two-headed monster back there. And they both finished with their pads and were very physical when they ran. And, his attempt, carries, that's a little high, in my opinion, for a first game. I wish that had been a little bit more balanced between him and Brennan. But both those guys played extremely well.
And then how would you assess the way Frank Harris attacked passing the football when he had vertical opportunities down the field? Yeah,
we wish we would have let him do that a little bit more. Both times we did that, we connected. And unbelievable catch by Dingle, unbelievable catch by Cephas. And Frank just was masterful at running the offense. Did a great job of, we only had 4 penalties on offense, and one of them was kind of my fault there at the very end. We were wanting to run quarterback draw to see what happened. If we didn't get a good playoff, we were going to go to overtime. We were just so exhausted. I just thought it was better for us to play on a 25-yard field than it was on a 100-yard field. So we only had 4 penalties on offense. One of those was Cephas running out of bounds. That's a crazy penalty. One of them is a delay of game, trying to decide whether to go to overtime or not. So I was very pleased with how Frank, basically 2 penalties and no turnovers, and 23 out of 31. I think he rushed for 3 touchdowns, threw for another. I mean, I'm so thrilled for that kid. What he's overcome to come back is pretty phenomenal.
And forgive me, I had to wander down to Texas State postgame while you were on Zoom Saturday at the stadium. But having slept on it for 36 hours after all 2020 has been, and you're a first-time college head coach, can you believe that game honestly played out the way it did and the way you finally won it?
Everybody's asked me that. I told them ideally I wish it wouldn't have, but for UTSA to get an extra hour of national exposure, for all the recruits and Scott Van Pelt talking about us and, Galloway talking about us and having the Sports Center play of the day. I hit up all 20 recruits on the way to the game. We have 19 committed. So we have a silent commit that we haven't told anybody yet. So we really got 20 kids, and all 20 kids hit me back within 2 minutes on the bus. And our recruits were so into the game. And when I got out of those 488 texts that I had, I bet you 100 of them were from my recruits, just keeping up with the game, loving our uniforms, just loving the kids. I mean, it was just a lot of fun. It was a great look for us. I wish we'd have played better in the second half, but it worked out just perfect for us. And, Rashad and the pick 6 and Bryce blocking both those extra points, basically, it was a special day.
Thanks, sir.
Paco, you're up.
He's still muted, Kyle.
There it is. Sorry.
You're good,
Congratulations
brother.
on the win, Coach. So I guess part of your formula, and you just mentioned that is having fun on the field. But also, have you considered this to be still part of your formula to keep them motivated? And how much time do you invest on this with your players?
A ton. We talk about our culture all the time. We just don't want to talk about it. We want to be about it. And we're currently cutting up video right now where we showed kids examples of being selfless. What a great block by Frank Harris on the reverse. Little bitty things. How about when Rashad's touchdown? Did anybody notice DeMarco Guidry? He's the one that rerouted that kid. The block by Corey Mayfield, which is what let Rashad go. We're going to try to celebrate our culture all the time on video, win or lose. And I asked the kids that after the game. I know winning's fun. Would we have been that less of a human if we'd have lost the game? No, we wouldn't. I do want them to celebrate victories. I do want them to hurt when we lose. But at the same time, it doesn't define who they are as men. It doesn't define who I am as a man. So we talk about that kind of stuff all the time. And it's just who we want this culture and who we want this to be.
And I guess we're continuing with football all over, mostly Texas. But is there any concerns now with the COVID, with coronavirus? How often are they going to get tested? Are the players going to be tested? Is there any concerns within the players or the organization?
We've already been tested again this morning. We test 3 times a week. There's no one in the country safer than our players. Where else are they going to go and be tested 3 times? We had a kid that had to go to a funeral. He's getting tested as soon as he gets back. I mean, so yes, we're concerned. Everybody's concerned, but we're testing Monday, Thursday, Friday. We don't do a meeting without our mask on. We had 10 kids walk in last night. How quick they forget already. They're young men. They're 18 to 23 years old. And I had to make 10 of them leave the room and get their mask on. So it's a daily struggle. Social distancing is a real thing. It's, the new norm. It's what it is right now.
And lastly, as far as off the court, we saw a lot of people in San Marcos, fans, they were not using any face coverings. They were required and they were signaled. There were different methods that were posted within the stadium, and there was a lot of people without face coverings, not maintaining social distancing. What will be your message to fans now that you're coming back home and there's going to be 17% at the Alamo Dome allowed? Is there a message would you like to deliver to the fans that they're going to be attending?
Yeah, I was one of those guys early. I really was. I didn't want to wear mine. Nobody wants to wear it. There's nobody putting it on goes, man, I can't wait to put this mask on. There's just sacrifices you have to make in life. It's very much like team football. Everybody's talking about Sincere McCormick today, but how about the offensive line? Is anybody talking about Maka, who played every single snap up front? Is anybody talking about Spencer Burford? Is anybody talking about Big Dom? You know what I'm saying? It's what football is, it's sacrifices. So if we want to continue having the life that we all love so much, that's a sacrifice we're going to have to give up right now. And trust me, it's 110 degrees on that field, and I got to put that thing over my face. It's uncomfortable, but we have to do it right now. And our players do it at workouts. They're in there with Philo every day, 2 hours, wearing their mask. If they can do it, we can all do it.
Thank you, Coach.
JJ, you're up.
Jeff, how would you say the secondary played on Saturday?
You know, I know they're getting beat up pretty good, but if you go back and watch the film closely, they played really well. I mean, obviously I'm not going to comment about penalties because I'm not allowed to, but our kids played really well. And I understand that it looked like they didn't maybe because that's what was being called, but go back and watch the video, and we were very proud of our corners. And it might look real simple out there on an island by yourself, but it's not. And if you notice, the kid that made the play on the last play that set up the field goal was Tariq, number 20. So, I mean, our kids never quit. They kept giving great effort, perfect effort. And I was extremely pleased. We want to be more physical. We want to go up and play those balls better, no doubt. But I was pleased with our kids. There were some of those catches were just crazy now. Some of them were just unbelievable catches. You watch me on the sideline, I just clapped my hands and said, hey, nice job. See you next time. I mean, they got scholarships too. Their coaches get paid to coach, and they work and they practice. So we got a lot of stuff to clean up. Don't hear me wrong, JJ, but I'm not beating them up like I'm maybe some of those guys on social media are letting me know about it right now.
Coach, what about the play of the linebackers? You said we were going to see a lot of guys play on Saturday, and a lot of guys played. What were your takeaways from that group?
You know, mixed. There were times we really showed up, and there were times we didn't. They did a good job of some motioning and getting us out of our proper spacing at times. There's an empty on third down. We didn't get lined up correctly. You know, there's a lot of things Coach Nix wants to fix, obviously. But I was very proud of Trevor and, you know, and Tyler and my little freshman, Jamal. I saw him last night at dinner, and I said, how'd you do, puppy? And he said, well, I didn't get but about 10 snaps. And I'm like, well, Jamal, it seemed like I saw you out there quite a bit. And I said, well, how'd you play? He said, I didn't play very good. So I came back down here just thinking I was crazy. I looked at the stat sheet. He played 36 snaps, had 7 quarterback pressures, and he doesn't even know. He thinks he played 10 snaps. So I just showed you how young he is, and he's just going to keep getting better. DeMarco played his tail off, and even Ashton went out there and gave us some critical time as well.
Okay, Greg, you're up.
Jeff, what can you tell us about the game against Memphis and where that stands, given that they had to shut down activities and their game this week is postponed? Do you guys know anything about that at this point?
We've just been in communication with their coaches. You know, we've all got buddies, and they said they'll be full goal and ready to go. But that's not administrator talk. I haven't heard from Dr. Compost or anything like that. That's just coaches speaking to each other, you know, on the down low.
Gotcha. For you guys, I know one of the guys missing from the opener, Zachary Franklin. We didn't see him. He was obviously a big impact player last year. Is there anything you can tell us about his status or the outlook for getting him back on the field?
We hope to have Zachary back soon. He's a very good player. I would say he's probably one of our very best players, and we can't wait to get him back.
Do you have any kind of timetable on that, or is it just still up in the air?
No, it's still up in the air. We hope sooner rather than later.
And I know last week you projected that 8 guys would be missing because of whether it's COVID tests or contact tracing. Was that the final count, and how did that sort of impact you through this game?
8 was the final count. Depth hurt us. Special teams hurt us. But that's what the season is right now. We just all have to get used to it. It's the new norm. And like I told our kids, we have 115 on the roster, 107 of them are ready to go. So let's go play with the 107. And I believe it ended up being a few more out just because of real injuries. So, we probably had 102 or 100 ready to roll. And coaches nowadays, you got to find a way to make a roster right now.
Sort of changing gears a little bit, we got to take a tour of the race facility on Friday. What's it been like to you to be able to see really from the practice field as the walls start to go up?
We had so much negative for so long, Greg. Basically every time I spoke to y'all from March until not long ago, it's just been negative. It's just so uplifting to be practicing down there in such an economic, stressful time. Our commitment from our university and our boosters for our kids to see that facility going up. I don't know if y'all understand, because of social distancing, our team meetings, there's a wall in between our meetings right now. We got defense on one side, offense on the other. We're social distancing. Our kids, they deserve that building, and the commitment from our university and our boosters is extremely uplifting. Every day we practice, we look up there and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's been a real pick-me-up for my guys.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is that something that I know that's something that like coaches and administrators are really invested in, but do the players care a lot about that too? Are they monitoring this progress and showing that same excitement?
Totally. And I told them, we stopped on the day the first wall went up. I said, man, I know y'all don't get it because you're not old like me. There's going to be a day you're going to look back and go, you know what, man? You tell your children and your grandchildren, I was on the field practicing the day that very first wall went up in that building. And some of them took pictures, from the practice field. And, we talk about it a lot because I want those kids to know, there's just so many people that have paid it forward because they believe in football. They believe in athletics. They believe in coaches. And, the gift from James Bodenstadt the other day, $5 million, the largest gift supposedly in the history of our school. And this time, in this crisis, unbelievable how those guys believe in coaches and players and how the game is used as a microcosm of life.
All right, Steven, you're up.
How's it going today?
Good morning.
Morning. This weekend, you got the home opener. It's against SFA. Just kind of what are your thoughts on getting the home opener and it coming against your alma mater, and just kind of your thoughts on what SFA has meant to you over the years?
Well, it's deep. My mother and my father both have a bachelor's and a master's from there. My wife and I both have a bachelor's and a master's from there. I have a brother that graduated from there as well. And pretty much when you're raised in East Texas, if you want to be a ball coach, you go to SFA. So I've got so many coaching buddies that, that are instrumental in my life, that we all went to school together back in the day. So, I interviewed for that job when it came open last time with Coach Carthel. I had tremendous respect for Coach Carthel and Ryan Ivey, the athletic director, and they're good now. They gave UTEP all they could handle. And they're athletic, they're physical, they believe in their head coach, and they play hard. Now it's going to be a great game Saturday, and you're going to be in for another barn burner.
Okay, anything else for Coach? All right. Appreciate it, everybody.
Appreciate y'all, man. 1-0, birds up.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
God bless.